Hello, and welcome back to part 2 of my identity theft story. Or should I say identity theft nightmare. I am coming to you today from this newsroom, because identity theft is real and very important news. It is also very real and very dangerous. I am confident my story will help convince you just how dangerous identity theft is. What's even scarier is the fact that it can easily happen to you. First of all, thank you to Stamp Out Scams for helping me get my story out. My story is a cautionary tale that should be heard by as many people as possible. I am glad that you are back watching part 2 of my video, because I still have quite a story to tell. As you may recall, at the end of my first video, the Berkeley Police Department had just arrested what turned out to be 2 identity thieves. The 2 people in the car were on probation for identity theft-related felonies. In the car, the police found checkbooks, credit cards, photocopies of identifications, and other information for more than a dozen people, many of whom had reported stolen identities, including me. A quarter-inch thick police report detailed what police found in the couple's car: stolen mail, wire cutters, lockpicks, a window punch, cell phones, multiple fake IDs, pieces of paper with names and social security numbers scrawled on them, a stun gun, a photocopy of my driver's license, a Wells Fargo card with my name on it, paperwork from a Best Western with my name on it, a handgun, and a Cheez-It box with a dozen checkbooks stuffed in it. My entire identity theft experience to this point had been rife with indignities large and small, and now my favorite snack food had been implicated. I am not naming the people who stole my identity. For my own safety, I will refer to them as Thief 1 and Thief 2. An officer asked Thief 1 about the Best Western paperwork. Who was Janet? A friend, he said. Police also recovered a cell phone where someone had texted him about a local credit union where he should open an account. The other banks are up on the stuff, and good for putting extra holds before you can actually withdraw money on deposits. Thief 2, a woman, was on probation for possession of stolen property. Both were booked on multiple charges, including a California Penal Code section for possessing the identity of 10 or more people with the intent to defraud. Everything found in the car was logged as evidence, including the Cheez-It box. Is my experience unique? The details, yes, but the crime, no. A recent survey conducted by Javelin Strategy and Research, and co-sponsored by the 3 major credit bureaus, found 42 million Americans were affected by some form of identity fraud in 2021. Total losses, $52 billion. There is no single national public database that tracks identity theft or any cybercrimes the way that we track violent and property crimes. And there is no law enforcement agency dedicated to investigating cybercrimes at an individual level, so it's hard to say precisely how prevalent identity theft is. Shima Bauman, a criminal law professor at the University of Utah's College of Law, indicated that police don't report identity theft cases to the FBI, but to the Federal Trade Commission. In its 2021 data book, the FTC notes that it does not intervene in individual cases but refers the data back to law enforcement. The FTC report said its Consumer Sentinel network took in more than 1.43 million reports of identity theft in 2021, a record high. You can report a cybercrime to the FBI through its Internet Crime Complaint Center, which was one of the first things I did. Filing the complaint generated a report, which was helpful to have, but stolen driver's licenses and bad checking accounts are not exactly in the FBI's wheelhouse. The FBI's Complaint Center received 51,629 reports of identity theft in 2021, also a record high. Why are identity theft cases on the rise? For one, they are easy to commit. It used to be that you had to have some savvy to commit these crimes. Not anymore. You just need an internet connection. Victims stand to lose much more than money. The Identity Theft Resource Center puts out an annual report that looks at the toll identity theft takes. In 2022, 87% reported emotional and physical impacts, feeling worried, violated, angry, guilty. 92% had trouble sleeping. 42% reported persistent aches and pains. 17% developed unhealthy or addictive behaviors. 10% reported feeling suicidal. Victims also were asked how long it had taken to fully resolve their identity theft. 55% said they never did. Before Thief 1 and Thief 2's trial in June 2019, the county district attorney asked whether I wanted to make a victim impact statement. I did. Rereading it, even now, is hard. I told them they stole my wallet during a difficult time in my life. I'd had a miscarriage a couple months earlier. The wallet, of blue studded leather, had been a gift from my grandmother before she passed away. I feel sick just thinking about having to relive all of this again. I wrote, "This has been a profound personal violation that has significantly affected my mental health. My therapist thinks the stress from dealing with this is part of why I haven't been able to get pregnant again. I don't know if Thief 1 or Thief 2 will ever read this statement." I wrote, "If they do, I found both of you on Facebook. It looks like you both have children. That must be wonderful. I wouldn't know. Did you think this was a victimless crime? Did you ever think you were stealing not only someone's credit card information, but their chance to be a mother?" Thief 1 and Thief 2 each faced a year in prison, but took a plea deal, 9 months in county jail, a 6-month residential treatment program for drug addiction, and 5 years of felony probation. I felt like I could finally relax. They couldn't continue their crime spree from a jail cell. Right. One afternoon in August 2019, I got a call on my desk phone at work. A man with a heavy accent asked if I was Janet. He needed my help. His girlfriend had hit him, tried to kill him. Actually, his ex-girlfriend. He was on his way to the police station. I said the name of Thief 2. Was it her? No. He gave me a different woman's name. He believed she was stealing my identity and he wanted me to report her to the police. He said she'd used it to rent a car. He said she'd recently gotten out of jail and he found a bunch of mail in her car with my name on it. He asked me to email him so he could send proof. I emailed and asked him to send whatever he had. He sent back an email that said, "Thanks, Janet, I will contact you later today. I am in the police office." Days later, he emailed me from a different address. He said he didn't have access to his email and he wanted my cell phone number. I didn't reply. 1 minute later, he wrote again. "How can I contact you, Janet? Can you call me, or email me your phone number or call me private if you want? Thanks, Janet." Again, I didn't reply. 2 hours later, he sent me a third email with no body text, just 2 blurry images of pieces of mail with my name and an address in Richmond I recognized from my credit reports. 2 hours after that, he emailed me again with the full name and address of his ex-girlfriend. Then he sent another email, no message, just 2 photos someone had taken of themselves in a mirror. Explicit photos, in lingerie. To this point, I had kept every piece of communication I'd received pertaining to my identity theft. For this email, I hit delete immediately. It was time to go to the police. The first time I went to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department station in West Hollywood. The person at the front desk said this was a Richmond police issue. I called Richmond. No, they said, the report has to originate in the jurisdiction where the victim resides. I went back to the West Hollywood station. The deputy behind the counter sighed as I pulled out 2 bulging file folders of documentation. He looked at it. The physical manifestation of months of work and anguish on my part, as though I'd come to show him my stamp collection. I recounted what had happened since my wallet was stolen and said that now a strange man had called me and sent me unsettling emails. So, he said, expressionless, "You believe yourself to be the victim of identity theft." I corrected him. "I am the victim of identity theft." This was worse than getting the runaround from an automated phone menu. The bile tasted familiar. He suggested I talk to the bank and phone company first. I said no. I wanted someone to take my report. It was a Wednesday afternoon in early September. He told me it might be a while. I was the only person there. I'd come prepared to wait. I'd packed snacks. I chose a spot on a bench directly across from where he couldn't look up without catching my eye. Sitting there patiently, smiling politely. After almost an hour, another officer took my report. I didn't expect deputies to form a posse and road trip up to Northern California to break down the person's door. I thought, or hoped, they would alert police in Richmond. I followed up a month later, in October. A detective told me the case was marked as pending. He indicated there was some confusion about why I had police reports with the San Francisco police and the Berkeley police and now wanted the Richmond police involved. Another reason identity theft cases are on the rise. It's really difficult to get arrested for committing cyber crimes. It's very low risk and high reward, Roger Grimes told me. He's a cybersecurity expert who's written on the topic for years. He described how criminals can buy terabytes of hacked personal data and malware that automates opening credit cards and applying for loans. Part of the problem is that these crimes cross traditional jurisdictions. Indeed, after another call to the West Hollywood station, I was told it wasn't clear whether the case was ever referred to Richmond. Your local law enforcement agency is generally interested in the geographic region it polices. Then there are clearance rates, the percentage of cases police solve, and a key metric they care about: Identity theft cases cross geographic lines and are hard to clear, so police don't really want to take them, Bauman said. The only reason Thief 1 and Thief 2 got arrested is because they slipped up. It was a fortunate coincidence, not the result of an investigation. I also got a text and an email confirming a marijuana delivery order. Spam, I thought. A little while later, I got a phone call. It was a marijuana delivery driver. He was parked just outside my hotel in Petaluma with my order. Could I come outside? I emailed the marijuana delivery company and the founder responded right away. As far as he and I could tell, someone had used my name, email address, date of birth, and phone number to create an account, but they forgot to change it to their own phone number when they placed an order for $57 of marijuana. I forwarded the receipt to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputy assigned to my case, asking him to update my report. We spoke by phone the next day. I had the exact address for where these people were staying and proof that they'd been there the night before. Surely, the police in Petaluma could knock on the door and check it out. The detective said he'd talked to his sergeant, but he wasn't sure what they could do with that information. On Christmas Day 2019, my phone rang again. It was my bank, the woman said. They had a couple questions, and she just needed to verify my identity before she could go any further. Sure. My name, date of birth, current address. And just to verify, what was my account password? I remember exactly where I was standing, in my parents' living room, my extended family gathered over holiday hors d'oeuvres. I looked down at my glass of wine as a thought penetrated my holiday buzz. My password. I hung up. Another phone call. On January 3, 2020, an officer with the police department in Northern California called. Well, you can guess this next part. A man and a woman arrested. Things found in the car with my name on them. I asked the officer if I could guess their names. Thieves 1 and 2. No. How about the name of the man who had called me in August and his possibly ex-girlfriend? Yep, that was them. I asked for the officer's email. I had some things to send her. Sometimes I feel like the heroine of a noir novel, a victim forced to take the law into my own hands using shoe leather and good, old-fashioned know-how to solve the attempted murder of my personal finances. But more often, I feel like I've been victimized twice. Once by the people who plucked my wallet out of my purse, but a second time, and many more times over, by a system that is doing nothing to protect me or any of us, and that forced me into a part-time, unpaid job cleaning up after the bad system they created. I've told a lot of people this story. They ask what they can do to protect themselves. The answer is tricky. I work on a team focused on service, and I'm used to saying, yes, of course there's something you can do about this. In this case, I feel like saying, there's nothing you can do. Good luck. I said I wouldn't let the thieves win, and I didn't. But that isn't entirely true. In 2020, my husband and I decided to buy a house. I had to unfreeze my credit to get a mortgage. Less than 24 hours after I unfroze all my credit reports, I received an alert from one of the banks I use, thanking me for applying for a new checking account. I logged in and saw that my mailing address had been changed to one in Northern California. I called the bank in tears to fix the problem and asked what I could do to make it stop. The customer service rep's response: nothing. If we could prevent all fraud from happening, we would, but we can't, they said breezily. When the mortgage company sent my husband and me the completed application to review, 3 of the addresses on it belonged to the thieves. I got to send yet another email with multiple police reports attached. But ultimately, the mortgage did go through, and we moved into our first home that summer. And this year, in February, we brought our first baby home from the hospital. I was on maternity leave until August. When I got back, my boss asked me what story I wanted to work on next. You're hearing it. Other victims of identity theft have compared it to managing a chronic condition. You have periods of remission, but then have to battle flare-ups unexpectedly and always at the worst times, like when you're applying for a mortgage. But it is manageable. What stood out to me over and over was that this wasn't something I could have prevented and not something I should have been expected to single-handedly fix. This is a systemic problem that will require systemic solutions. I have some ideas. While this may sound like the end of my story, but with identity theft, you never truly know when your story will finally end. I have some ideas and thoughts on what can be done relative to identity theft. I also would like to relay my list of outrages that I experienced during my identity theft saga. My hope is that if viewers can hear these nightmares firsthand, then they can be more fully prepared for combat if they ever become a victim of identity theft. Hopefully I can relay these outrages and other thoughts and ideas I have about identity theft in another video real soon. At this point, I want to thank Stamp Out Scams for helping me tell my story through this video series. I appreciate it. I would also appreciate it if all of you who are viewing this video listen to my story and realize what identity theft can do to you. Please take the necessary cautions and actions to protect your identity. If your identity is stolen, take immediate action. Don't wait a second. Be patient, but be persistent. Bottom line, fight back. Oh yes, two last things before I forget. Please subscribe to this channel. Also, if you have any comments, please leave them below. Thanks again.